it's alright. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter where you come from, it's alright. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter where you come from, it's alright. I came up from the bottom of a bottle with rebels and desperados. It was long days and hard nights, but I had to struggle for my dream, cause nobody else could see it. I was no one to turn to somebody with just a little faith. There's nothing I can achieve. Yeah, I was going the wrong way and then I turned right. But if I could be anybody, I wanna be me. Cause it don't matter where you're from, only matter where you going. Nobody giving me none, I'm placing a bet on myself and I'm all in. I got the mind of a broke man, mixed with the heart of a lion. If I could be anybody, I wanna be me. Yeah, I just wanna be.
My name's Randy Beard, and I recover loud.
Hi, and welcome to Recover Loud, a TV talk show dedicated to ending the stigma of substance abuse. By sharing our hope, experience, resources, and stories of amazing comebacks, we recover loud. I'm Mike Paddleford, and I recover loud. Today's show is discussing how we change the narrative in recovery. Early on in recovery, I was told I had to change people, places, and things in order to stay clean. But a lot of the things I used to do to get my substances is something I enjoyed. One thing I used to do was go out in the woods and pick fiddleheads. And I would spend all day out in the woods to get as many as I could so I could sell them that night. And no matter how many I picked that day, I would wake up the next morning broke and sick and needing to start over. So in my recovery, it was really hard for me to decide what I like to do. And we're really, once we get into recovery, we have to reinvent ourselves because now we don't have that to fall on. So I did find that I enjoy picking fiddleheads, so I wanted to continue that. But this time I didn't need that money. I was able to build up some funds, and I went out and I bought some kayaks. So today I get to go down and kayak the rivers, spend a day on an island, have lunch with my wife, and really enjoy the experience. And the desire to pick as many as I can is still there, but it's not required. I don't have to meet a certain amount so that I can provide what I need for the day. So, Randy, you mentioned being unhoused and giving back and being an advocate for the unhoused. What are some of the things you do today to help that community?
At least once a week, I try to go down to, I'm from Portland, I'm a 7th generation Cumberland County guy, and I was unhoused at Oxford Street and Preble Street, and I try to go back there, and like during the summer, whenever it's hot, me and my group would raise money, and we'd buy waters, ice creams, food, whatever it takes. And now that it's cold, like just this morning, we're actually running a warming center with a few different organizations that we've all come together, and we all pitched in and got a bunch of brand new gloves, brand new hats, brand new socks, backpacks, food, coffee, donuts, just whatever we could to get the people off the street, because these temperatures, people are going to die from it. And
yeah.
Somebody has to do something, because ever since COVID broke out, there's no longer day shelters, and people don't let people into public places anymore. So there's no place for these people to go, and it's sadly going to cause a lot of deaths. Yeah,
that's some important work. We actually stopped in earlier today and took some video of the warming shelter, and it was full. I was surprised how many, but that just goes to show how many people need that service. So I personally appreciate you doing that and helping the people out there who need that service.
I will say too that when we started doing this, today we've had the rest center in Lewiston's running one. The ARP in Augusta, they're running one. So a bunch of different cities are now seeing that this is a necessity, and recovery is becoming big in Maine, because sadly we're like the 6th worst overdose rate in the United States per capita, and
Yeah, and as you just mentioned, it's a lot of the recovery community are running these shelters today.
people that have been through it.
Yeah, and you know, that's important. You know, and when you mentioned changing the narrative earlier, do you have a similar situation where you were somewhere and today you're able to go back and it's different for you?
I can honestly say, much like you, my substance use disorder was tenfold, and it was a 35-year addiction, and I didn't have the will to go out and work for my money. I did everything that was wrong in life.
Yeah.
I stole, I hustled, I sold drugs. I did whatever it took to make sure I was high.
Yeah, and that's important because there's a lot of ugly truths to addiction.
And unless we face the ugly truths, then we're not going to fix it. And I'm an open book now. There was days that I was laying on the sidewalk because I was so sick that I couldn't get myself up on the sidewalk, and my face was 2 or 3 inches from my own vial.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. And all I could do was lay there and moan until I had something to fix my sickness.
Yeah, and when we're in that active addiction phase, a lot of times we feel hopeless. You know, it feels like there's no way out. In my situation, I didn't know anybody in recovery, but what was it that led you into recovery? Can you tell us that?
I can. If I get emotional, I'm sorry.
No, please.
It was my daughter's birthday, and I was going to take her to bingo, and I'm not a bingo player, but it's something she enjoys, and there was no way I was going to go sit there for 3 hours and not be high. So I stopped on the way so I could get high before I went, and some random person found me in my vehicle 3 or 4 hours later and gave me CPR until the EMTs got there, and then he just walked away. Never wanted to be his name, nothing. He just left. Yeah. And the EMTs, narcated me multiple times, and when I woke up, the EMT said he'd never seen somebody so gone come back. And at that time, I was street smart, and I knew I had a lot of drugs and paraphernalia on my person, so I signed myself out of the ambulance. And when I did, I opened the door, and there was a policeman there, and he said, if you're not going to the hospital, you're going to jail. And I went to jail, and I had a lot of charges from a lot of years. They were never able to catch up with me. And even though I had money to bail myself out, they wouldn't let me because they had to wait till they globalized all my charges. And I detoxed on a jail room floor because at the time they weren't giving any. They gave me Benadryl, I think. Mm-hmm. And it was the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. But the worst part was, with today's technology, nobody knows anybody's phone number.
Right.
And I had my phone, but it was dead. So when I got arrested, I didn't know what my daughter's phone number was. And then once I went into this pod, they wouldn't let me back out to get my phone.
Right.
And I was never able to call my daughter for 6 months. And she knew I was of my addiction and that I was homeless. And my daughter had to come to the realization that I might have been dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough.
And
so how soon was it after that you were able to contact your daughter?
it took 6 months. And the only reason I was able to was because I had to make her the power of my attorney so she can go get my money out of the bank to be able to come get me out of jail and get a lawyer and stuff. And I was never able to get a lawyer. I was stuck there.
Yeah.
And I was too sick to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. So when you got out of jail, you had detoxed. You were in there for 6 months.
But that's where it starts to get good.
Yeah.
When I was, and I'm proud of it. When I was laying on that floor, I swore, even though I had a 35-year addiction, I would never be back there. I was placed on probation, and I was doing a bed-to-bed where I was going right from jail right to a sober house. Mm-hmm. And I was on the bus going over to the sober house, and I just happened to make a Facebook account. And the first thing that popped up was an apartment. And I called the guy and he said, if you got the money, you can move in right now. And I went up there and it's in Wyndham and I didn't have a license, so I was up in the woods. I had no way to get into town. And I still live there today, almost 3 years later. It's a beautiful place. I'm right on the river. I get to go fishing. I have my dog. It's everything I need for my peace of mind. And it was just perfect. You know, it just fell into place. And then I went to probation, and my probation officer suggested I should take the recovery coach class, which at the time I was just doing to make myself look good in front of the probation officer. But I did, and I was worried that I was going to be the only person with substance use disorder. I thought it was going to be a bunch of college kids and professionals who would look down at me. But I got into the class, and it was everybody who was just like me. And me and one of the people that were in the class, my friend Ryan, really hit it off because they were putting us in breakout rooms in the Zoom, and me and Ryan kept getting matched up. And we have a lot in common. We actually saved the same overdose date. So we hit it off, and when I ended up becoming a recovery coach, I decided it was right around end of February last year, and a good friend of mine overdosed on fentanyl-laced Xanax, and it was like the third week of February, and we decided we were going to host a Black Balloon event up on Munjoy Hill, which is on March 6th, which is National Overdose Awareness Day, and we started out with 6 people that day in our group, and within a week we had 500 people in the group. We had 483 names of people who overdosed, and we had, well, I'm actually wearing this year's, but we had shirts made with people who had passed away because of overdoses, and we had 500 black balloons made, and now we're at 11 months. The group turns a year next month, and we have 2,400 people in the group.
Yeah, it's amazing. I met you at Black Balloon,
Yes,
the Black Balloon event.
Yep, you were.
And you know, I had seen it on Facebook and joined your group, and just seeing the connection that was being provided. And Lori and I drove down Recovery on the Road. We were getting ourselves around the state and you know, trying to visit these events. And I appreciate you putting that event on.
I remember when we met it. We hit it off right off.
Yeah, yeah, and it was such a touching event. You know, I remember there was a family there. They were holding a big sign, poster of their son,
Trina.
And you know, I was drawn to them, and I walked over and introduced myself, and I said, you know, I'm sorry for your loss. Do you mind telling me about your son?
Shane Mills.
You know, and it was just an amazing time. So, you know, thank you for doing that. Are you planning another one this year?
We are, and this year we actually we're planning on 2. We're going to be doing one in Augusta, where we're going to wait to release all the details once we have them finalized. But we're going to be doing the same thing up on Munjoy Hill this year. So we're excited about that. And that last year, for me to be sitting here doing this now, because when I ran the streets, as being a hustler, you don't put yourself out there. So, and this had just started, and like we had every news station and newspaper there, and they all wanted to talk to me, and I was like, Ryan, you know, you go do this. I'm not doing that. And I'm sitting here now doing this. So, I mean, to see the complete 180 since that time, it's miraculous. And I made a promise to every person that came that day, I would not let these people be forgotten. And I would be their voice, and we would recover loud.
Absolutely.
And say their names loud, and until I get called to go to my next life, I will be their voice. I will.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the voice for the people we've lost, the ones that are living with substance use disorder now, and future generations. I call it the 3 L's: living, lost, and later.
Yeah, yeah, because we know there's probably never going to be a cure for this.
There isn't.
You know, there is a new vaccine that I notice they're working on now, which is something great, and you know, hopefully they can come through with that, and it's able to help many people. But in the meantime, you know, we want to keep as many people alive as possible today.
And I don't mean to chime in, but like right now, because of COVID, there's not a lot of nurses, because a lot of nurses lost their jobs because of the COVID shots. So it's very detrimental to people in our situation because all the detox places are closing because they don't have funding or they don't have staff. And I personally, I'm a 51-year-old freshman in college. I've gone back to school, and I'm taking high-risk management and psychology, and I'm going to give everything back to the community free. Person that was really inspiring to me, Jesse Harvey, rest in peace. He, when I was homeless, he come down and he got me into seeing a psychologist, which I never would have done.
Right.
And that helped open me up. And just him doing that showed, and he did that all out of the kindness of his heart. And because that one guy saved me that day, that was my goal. If I can save one person and get even with the house, then I'm happy. And now I preach that to my group. I tell that there's 2,400 of us. If 2,400 of us can all save one person, that's 2,400 people that we saved.
Yeah.
And sadly, there's going to be, what, 130,000 overdoses nationally this year?
Yeah, unfortunately, we keep hitting new highs with the overdose rates. I just want to mention the name of your group, Recover Together.
Yes.
It's on Facebook. You can join the group.
It's spelled recover. It's all one word. It's recover, the number 2, and then GETHER. So recover together.
Yeah.
And everybody's welcome. We only have one rule that we really stand by, and the only thing we discriminate against is hate.
Yeah.
And we open to all pathways, whether you're 25 years clean or if you're 25 seconds clean.
Absolutely.
And we don't knock anything. We're self-funded. We're not a nonprofit, sadly, but we're not, because every cent we turn back to helping. Say, Michael, you call up and say, I have a person who needs a U-Haul truck unloaded, which we're going through now.
Yeah.
I'll put it out to my group, and not any of us have anything. We're not rich, but 20, 30 people throwing $5 each, we cover it.
Yeah.
We've put multiple people into sober house living, paid their first week or two of rent. We paid single moms heating bills. Between the different people, we adopted 17 families for Christmas.
Yeah.
We help people fresh out of prison, get them into a safer environment where most people getting out of prison, they don't have anywhere to go. We get them set up. We get them the fundamentals to survive, to start, a phone, clothes, a place to go, food. And it's just all stuff that we're all recovering addicts, and we know how hard it is to make it past that. And for the people who are at the point where we are past that part, hopefully, I mean, it's going to be a continuous battle the rest of my life, but I want to give back, and it helps me stay in my recovery by giving back.
Exactly.
And I'm proud of that fact that I do it.
Yeah, and you know, that's exactly what changing the narrative is all about. You know, you were unhoused, you were on the streets, you were suffering, and now today you're doing everything you can to give back. And I, for one, appreciate that. And I know the rest of the community, the recovery community in Maine, appreciates that.
I don't know who that was.
That was
I will say, though, in our group, I call myself the lucky guy who gets to be the messenger. It's us. Michael, you're right along on that journey. Your wife, Lori. In our group, I think we have 37 different groups in our group now.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all, and I'll go into this. I'm part Maine RAP, the Recovery Advocacy Projects. I was selling drugs on the streets 3 years ago, and 11 months ago, I had state representatives come up to me and say, hey, you know, we want you to go to Las Vegas and learn about the opiate issues and help come back and educate. Where'd that come from?
Right.
You know, and where did it? And I was all dead against it, but I went. And the people I met, the things I learned, and it's just amazing what a whirlwind I have gone through in 11 months. And
yeah, I remember when you came back from Vegas, the fire that was lit under you. And, you know, it's only the community that's benefited since then. You know, so you know, it's a pleasure to talk to you. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's a pleasure to find out all the things that you're offering to the community. You know, you're doing great things, and it's important for us to share that with everybody. And
we have to show that we do recover, and we can be very important people in our communities.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of different community things and outreach, and there's
So Randy, how much money are you making for all this stuff you're doing?
nothing. I take everything out of my own pocket.
I know you do. And that's important, you know. A lot of us in the recovery community, we're doing it, you know, out of the kindness of our heart, but what's your why? Why are you doing this? Why do you put in your own time, your own money?
Because I know what I've been through, and kids today, they don't need to go through that. And now with the new drugs and fentanyl and everything, it's the number one killer of people under 50. It has to be stopped. I seen a thing the other day that said there's going to be more kids in junior high in the next 2 or 3 years that are raised by their grandparents than that are raised by their own parents. And that's a sad truth. And I missed out on most of my daughter's life because of my addiction. And now my granddaughter is 3 years old. She's almost exactly incoherent with my recovery, and she's my best friend.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us a little bit about your relationship today with your daughter and your granddaughters.
I could not be, actually I should have said that earlier, I could not be more prouder than my daughter. When I was homeless, both myself and her mother were both people with substance use disorder and mental illness. And we were both unhoused. And my daughter would come down on holidays, as often as she could. She would come down to the shelter, not knowing if I was going to be there, but she would put together 50 bags out of her own pocket to people from the unhoused community. She's going to become a nurse, and she's the one who talked me into going to college and helping and giving back. And she could have very easily hated me and pushed me away, and then as well not let me see my granddaughter and be jealous of my granddaughter because of the relationship I have with my granddaughter.
Yeah.
But she's not. And I'm a strong believer that substance use disorder is a hereditary thing. And I thank my higher power that it skipped over. And now hopefully we broke the cycle and my granddaughter won't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's, I could not be more proud of where my daughter is for what she's been through.
And I'm sure she's saying the same thing about you, Randy. I'm sure she's proud. You know, you're doing some great things, and you know, you should be proud.
I am, and that's, as a person, especially somebody who deals with substance use disorder, and as well as being unhoused for as long as I was, you get shunned in society. You get looked down at, you get spit on.
Yeah.
And you learn and you lose any self-dignity and any feeling of self-content. And it's a hard thing to get that back. And I am at a spot today where I am extremely proud of where I am. I'm extremely proud of what I do.
So if anybody has a story they'd like to share regarding the Good Samaritan law, you know, an experience where they've been either Narcaned or were too scared to call 911. We've heard a lot of stories already. Lori and I are going to be working on a documentary discussing the Good Samaritan law. All right, Randy, I want to thank you again for coming here tonight.
I love you, bro.
I love you too, Randy. Keep doing the things you do. You are making a difference.
Thank you.
And I'm really proud of the things you're doing today. I'm glad to know that you're proud of yourself.
I'm glad to know you.
Thanks, Randy.
We recover together, bro.
You too.
Thank you.
Say Every time I call, you pick up the phone and always reminding me that I'm not alone. And even when I'm scared and my feet are frozen, you help me keep it going like a semicolon. Every time I fall, you just pick me up. Say you was down to ride through the thickest mud. And you see helping me light the way. And even in the dark, you always keeping me safe. And everything I've lost don't compare to what I've gained. So no matter what it costs, yeah, I'll be willing to pay. Cause every time I call, you pick up the phone and always reminding me that I'm not alone. And even when I'm scared and my feet are frozen, you help me keep it going like a semicolon. So I'ma follow your steps for all of the way. I put my faith in you and walk on the waves. And if I stumble a bit and fall on my face, you come and save me with all of your grace. Yeah, thank God.
I overdosed. My girlfriend found me in the house. I was barely breathing. Her and my neighbor put me in the car and dropped me outside of the emergency room. Never told anybody, just left me outside of the emergency room and took off. And luckily someone found me. And I woke up like 3 or 4 days later from being in a coma.
My name is Senator Chloe Maxman, and I support the expansion of the Good Sam law in Maine.
Expand Good Sam for me.
Expand Good Sam for me.
Expand Good Samaritan for me.
Protects anyone, person who in good faith is seeking medical advice for someone experiencing a drug-related overdose, or the person who is experiencing the drug-related overdose. Yeah, so the Expand Good Sam for Me campaign has two really main goals, right? So the first goal is that we teach and educate our community members that the Good Samaritan law exists as currently is, because it is a law and it's on the books and it does protect some people at the scene of an overdose. And we want our community members to know that that is on the books. So we're going to spend a lot of time educating folks on that law, and also that it's not currently on the books as well as it could be. The bill would expand it to cover everybody at the scene.
Expand Good Sam for me.
Expand Good Sam for me.
Good Sam for me.
Expand Good Sam for me.
Expand Good Sam for us. We need it.